title, The Wood You Drag Will Follow. It happened in the summer of 2005, and it was the last time my friends ever invited me camping. Honestly, I can't blame them. There were 6 of us, 3 guys and 3 girls, just a group of friends chasing one last adventure before school picked up again. We found the perfect site, a wide clearing tucked between 2 plateaus, one on top of a gentle slope and the other down near a shaded creek that glimmered in the late sun. Quiet, remote, beautiful. The kind of place that feels untouched. We set up camp just before dusk. The guys started building the fire pit and sent us girls out to gather firewood. One stayed near the campsite, one headed up the slope. I took the trail into the woods, alone. As I walked deeper, I felt lightheaded, almost weightless, like I was gliding, not walking. I blamed the altitude, but something about the trail felt off, quieter than it should be. Still, I found a log. It was perfect, dry, smooth, and strangely clean. I grabbed it and started dragging it back. When I returned, everyone cheered. The others had only found sticks and pine cones. Mine was the jackpot. We got the fire going, cooked, drank, and laughed like idiots under the stars. But I kept noticing someone extra, just at the edge of the trees, not moving, watching. I thought it was the alcohol, so I shrugged it off and called it a night. I was the first one to pass out, and the first one up the next morning. The fire was out, and my stomach was growling. I rekindled the flames and made myself breakfast. No one else was awake yet, so I decided to grab more wood, maybe find another miracle log. I headed back toward the same path. That's when things changed. Rocks that weren't there the night before now lined the trail. Bushes I hadn't seen seemed to lean in closer. A towering pine tree stood smack in the center of the path, impossible to miss, and impossible that I had. But I kept going. After what felt like forever, I reached the spot where I had found the log. A pebble hit me. I turned around. No one. Just the quiet woods. I froze. Then another pebble hit me, harder. My legs buckled, and the hair on my neck rose like static. I shouted, "That's not funny, guys." Silence. I turned back toward the clearing, and that's when I saw it. The trail was littered with broken glass and candle stubs. Yellow ribbons fluttered on saplings that hadn't been there before, and 10 crosses, white, wooden, fresh, stood like sentinels, right where I had picked up the log. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. All I could do was stare and tremble. I realized I had burned part of a memorial. That's when something pushed me. I hit the ground hard, and suddenly I could move again. So I ran, faster than I ever thought possible. Pebbles kept hitting me, sharper now, angrier, chasing me all the way back to camp. But the moment I crossed into the clearing, they stopped. The guys were up. A park ranger was there, talking to them. "You're trespassing," he told us. "There's a reason that area is gated off. You weren't supposed to be here." We were confused. The gate had been open. Then the ranger said something that made the blood freeze in my veins. "Half a mile from here, there's a site where a family was murdered, burned alive in their cabin. The area's been closed since the memorial was vandalized last year. Locals don't go near it." We stared at him, stunned. He told us to pack up and leave immediately. I almost kept the rest to myself, but before I could say a word, one of the girls looked at me and said, "Hey, I thought you went to bed early. Why were you standing outside your tent last night just smiling at us?" I froze. They continued, "You didn't say anything, just stood there. When we asked you to come back and hang out, you walked away. Then you came back again. Same thing, smiling, silent. You did that 3 times. I tried to laugh it off. "You guys were drunk. probably just seeing things. But the girls hadn't been drinking. I was the only one who had. We packed in silence. On the way out, I finally told them where I found the log. One friend turned pale and asked, "Did you carry it or drag it?" "Dragged it," I said. Dead silence. Then one of them whispered, "You never drag wood from the forest. You make a trail. And the things that don't belong here, they follow the trail." I didn't tell them what really happened. I couldn't, but they knew. They felt it. That night, they connected the dots. The thing by my tent, the trail, the pebbles, the log. I haven't been invited to a camping trip since. Honestly, I wouldn't go even if they begged me. After I got home, I told my mom. She's a shaman. Her face went pale. She told me I was lucky. Said my grandfather, who passed years ago, must have been the one who pushed me, who broke the hold. She said the forest had been veiled. I hadn't seen the gravesite, not really. Not until they let me. And that log? It was never meant to burn. It was meant to hide. So if you're planning to go camping, remember this. Never go alone. Never leave the trail. And never, ever drag wood from the forest. You might bring something back with you. Title: The Stranger of Aroostook Stream. Back in the summer of '98, my family and I took a canoe camping trip in Aroostook County, Maine, just about as far north as you can get. It was the kind of place where the wilderness is untouched, and you don't see another soul for days. There's a stream up there that flows off a lake and eventually runs into the St. John River. We'd get dropped off at a bridge and spend a couple of days drifting down the stream, fishing, camping, and just enjoying the peace and quiet before getting picked up at the end. On the second day, just before dusk, we set up camp on a small island that split the stream in two. The water was low, too rocky for paddling, so we'd have to carry our canoes around it anyway. We got the tents pitched and a fire going. My parents started cooking dinner, including 2 fat brook trout we'd caught earlier. My sister and I were tossing rocks into the stream, just killing time before dark. Then our mom called out to us. We ran over and immediately saw why. A man was standing near our dad, just a short distance from the camp. He wasn't someone you'd expect to see out there, not even close. He was a small man, maybe 5'3", with a wild, bushy beard. His clothes looked handmade, like they were stitched together from old burlap sacks. He leaned on a musket, using it like a walking stick, and carried a pack made of sticks and fur, with rolled-up animal pelts on top. Everything about him looked old. Not wilderness camper old, more like stepped out of the 1800s old. He looked just as shocked to see us as we were to see him. He started speaking what sounded like French, but it was strange. My mom knows some French, but she could barely understand a word he said. He kept pointing at us, then behind him, repeating something that sounded like tattoo sack or tattoo sac. My mom tried asking if he was from Quebec or Canada, but he just looked confused. He kept pointing at our camp, at the tents, at the canoes, at my dad's jacket, like he had never seen anything like it. He seemed full of questions, but none of us could make sense of what he was saying. Eventually, my dad, who was already uneasy, motioned for him to leave. My mom waved him off too, saying, "Leave" in French. The man finally seemed to understand and waded through the shallow water to the far side of the island. Then he vanished. Not like he walked away or slipped into the woods. I mean, vanished. We were all watching him, and the second he stepped onto the far bank, he was just gone. That was it. No sound, no movement, just gone. We were all pretty shaken. My mom wanted to pack up and leave right then and there, but my dad convinced her we'd be safer staying put for the night. Moving camp and carrying gear in the dark wasn't a great idea. He promised to stay up and keep watch until morning. He had his pistol with him, and that gave us some comfort even though none of us were sleeping much that night. As we sat around the fire trying to make sense of it, my sister quietly said, "Yeah, and he wasn't even wearing shoes, just some strips of leather tied to his feet." To this day, we don't know who or what we saw. It wasn't a ghost. He was real. He tried to talk to us, and he saw us, just like we saw him. But it was like he didn't belong in our time. We went on that canoe trip 3 times. That was the last time, by Mom's orders. Title: The Music in the Dark. A couple of years ago, my brother bought a big piece of land, way out in the middle of nowhere. We're talking 30 miles past the last bar of cell service. No lights, no traffic, no neighbors. Just woods, silence, and a whole lot of sky. Shortly after he bought it, 2 of my brothers, him and another, and I brought our families out for a weekend of camping and cleanup. The land had been treated like a dumping ground for years. We hauled out junk, cut fallen trees, and did our best to make it livable. On the second night, sometime after midnight, I woke up needing to take a leak. The woods were quiet, the kind of quiet that presses on your ears. I stepped out of the tent and made my way to the edge of the trees. That's when I heard it. Faint music drifting through the dark, nothing loud. Just soft, distant tunes, like it was coming from a radio left on low. I didn't think much of it at the time. One of my brothers had a camper with a generator and a radio. I figured it was his. I went back to sleep. At breakfast the next morning, I casually mentioned the music. To my surprise, other people at the table paused. One by one, they admitted they'd heard music too, each of them woken up at some point during the night. But here's the thing, no 2 people heard the same song. One person swore they heard old country. Another said it was classical. My wife said she heard a woman singing in some language she couldn't place. Then the brother with the camper finally got up. He looked rough, like he hadn't slept well. I asked him about the music. His expression changed. It was like someone had drained all the color from him, like a flashlight flickering out in the dark. He said he'd stepped outside for a smoke sometime after midnight and had heard music too, but assumed it was someone else playing a radio. The thing is, he was the only one with a radio. And the generator, he never turned it on that night. We all sat there, quiet, thinking it over. No one else had a radio. No one had power. No one had even brought a Bluetooth speaker. And yet somehow, every one of us heard music, different music, coming from the woods in the middle of the night. I've been back to that land a few times since. It's beautiful out there during the day, peaceful, but at night, it's a different story. I don't sleep in a tent anymore. I sleep in my SUV. Doors locked, gun close by. Laugh if you want, but something about that place, it gets under your skin. Because once you realize there's no one out there, and no way anyone could have been playing that music, you start to wonder who or what was. Hello everyone, Spectral Dream here. I just wanted to thank everyone who's been supporting my small channel. If you or anyone you know has a story you'd like me to narrate, please feel free to comment down in the comment section and I'll see what I can do. I look forward to telling everyone spooky stories. And if you're new here, please have a seat and come along with us on this journey.